exploration phase now.
I'm myself again on my.
Yeah. So Gary is going to be showing us something really interesting, and then he's going to be doing his session. Oh, there you go. So we have a Gary number 2.
Now hold on, bear with me 1 second. I'm just switching headsets as well.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. Your twin brother is also in this call.
Hear me more than point. Oops. Here we go. Right. Oh. Can you hear me okay, Marcello?
Yeah, it's all good. So spotlight the video.
Good. Yeah, and I'm now. You should be seeing my. How do I switch cameras? Oh, here we go. This is a new one for me. I've never switched my camera on my iPhone.
Living and learning.
Yeah, every day is, you know what they say? Every day is a learning day. Share content. Ah, here we go. There we go, right. Can you see my steps there, Marcello, before I go any further?
We can see that.
Yeah, cool.
Steps on the ladders. Well, have a backup solution. If your steps are broken, you can use a ladder.
Correct. So for everybody who I'll speak to later on in my session, I have a strange hobby, and you're about to meet my hobby. But meanwhile, you're also going to get a tour through the back of my garden. And one of the great things about being a granddad is you can do things like that and buy.
A little bit old for the tweenies.
Yeah, I am. Look at that, eh? Every granddad wants one of those for their grandchildren. Right. So, as I was saying, I have a strange but fantastic hobby, and that's called collecting and breeding owls. So the first owl I'd like to introduce is Loki.
Symbols of wisdom.
And let me see if I can get her to come out. Here we go. There's Loki.
Hello, Loki.
Loki is
It's beautiful.
Loki is an ash. It's not a model. It's for real. She is what's called an ashy-faced owl, and she's basically a barn owl, but comes from the Dominican Republic.
With Brexit, it's going to be difficult. Be careful with the passport.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and one very strange fact about Loki or ashy-faced owls is that 99% of owls around the world, their eyelids are clear. So you actually never see them blink. Ashy-faced owls, her eyelids are like a powder blue. And, unfortunately, because she is a animal, I can't get her to blink on command. But, so she's 7. And this year she laid her first egg. Not that she's got a partner, so nothing happened there. So now, and we've had him since we've had her, shall I say, since she was about 12 weeks old. Then,
how do you get them? You just order on Amazon?
No. We, I wish you could. No, you buy them from breeders or various other places that have had eggs that they didn't expect in birds of prey centres and things like that. Now we're just going into my shed, but going through another door.
In the freezer.
Yeah, that's where there's plenty of food. And in here is Thor. Now Thor is a British barn owl, and I'll open this up in a minute. He's not very sociable during the day, like some owls,
Be careful with the hammer.
And he, yeah, he is 8 years old, and our daughter raised him from an egg. And here we go, there he is. Yeah, and he's very friendly normally. I won't disturb him because, as I say, he's not sleeping, but this is his rest time. Now we'll go on to just leave there and move to a couple more avids. Now, they're the owls that we collect. The owls that we breed are these ones. Can you see Betty there?
Hello, Betty.
Yeah, so we'll go and see her. Owl. And hopefully they are, they're not.
There seem to be some technical difficulties here.
Yeah, he is probably outside of range. So it could be a connection issue. I'll just send him a message, but I don't think he'll see it. Because the message will be in a computer. I'll send him a message on WhatsApp as well, and then he should get it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm back. I can hear you. I don't know what happened there because whilst I am or was on Wi-Fi, I'm on 4G now. So
We have
can
no
you see me
video.
okay?
We have no video, so can only get the audio.
Oh, you have no video. Hold on. Hang on a minute. Let me just see why. Stop video. Start video. So it looks like I'm transmitting video and I'm online. Can you not see me?
Nope. No video here. So guys, I just give him some time. And I think that Jessica had to leave us because she has an exam. So Sanyan, I don't know if you're still here with us, and Suli?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. So I'll just let you guys do the talking until he comes back. So we have 8 minutes until his session starts. So
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can hear you.
Yeah, have you got my video?
Now we're good, yeah.
Yeah, we see you.
Oh, good. Right. Sorry about that. So, right, now we're back to there. Hopefully you can see me now. Yeah. And there is there, Daddy.
Yeah, it's freezing.
Hello.
Hello. Now I can hear, but still.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, hearing's fine.
All right. But you now have no video.
Yeah, it's frozen. At least on mine.
Hang on a minute. Let me just stop video. Start video. What about now? Have you got video?
No video from me.
You know, we should have tested. We should have tested this first.
Oh, it's we
I'll tell you
already
what,
got
Marcello. Can you hear
3
me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah. Have you got me now?
No video, not for me.
Can you see?
Nope, only here.
Right, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let me disconnect. I will connect on 4G, and then I will start my session from here, just very quickly.
Okay.
And that way, not wasting any time. All right? Give me 2 minutes, and then we can start again.
And then I'll disappear from here.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's good.
Yeah, and now I'm also on 4G. Right, is that better?
Yeah, it's better.
Right. Sorry, everybody. My apologies. Technology. So as I was saying, there is Daddy. Can you see him?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, that's Daddy, and he's 13 years old. And I'm not sure whether I'll be able to do this, but I'll try. Where's the camera? There. If I, no, it doesn't let me zoom in. But in the back there, at the very back in the right-hand corner is Mummy, and she is sat on 3 chicks and 1 egg at the moment.
So one egg is late.
No, we had 4 eggs, and 3 have hatched, and we're just waiting for the 4th. And here is my baby. So that is Betty.
Hello, Betty.
Yeah, this is my friend, believe it or not, and she is 13 months old,
Yeah.
And she was from last year's collection of chicks, and I have been hand feeding her since she was 12 days old. So,
all right.
So she's my friend. So there we go. There's my owls. Sorry about the interruption. I will disconnect from here and go back to there's Daddy again. Can you see him there? And as you can see, he's not very friendly at the moment.
Tough love.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Well, it's because they've got chicks there, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, I will disconnect from my phone and go back to my computer, and let you guys all chat and talk, and then I start my session in 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So just give it back to Sun Yan so he can explain a bit more about the rest of the day, perhaps. We have
All right.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So basically, Gary lives in UK, a little bit further away from a big city. So he has the possibility of having this kind of hobbies, which is obviously not something you can do in a city. But you will hear his stories from when we met in Davos. He's a technology pioneer, which is actually quite amusing that he knows technology extremely well. And still, we had issues with the phone, with the video, and everything else to get this session going. We just wanted you to have the surprise of looking at the owls as symbols of wisdom, I think, in most countries. And he is certainly a very wise man, and I think you're going to like this session. So he's back now, so just spotlight his video. And wow, it surely looks like you're in a very interesting abandoned spaceship station.
Well, I'll tell you what, can anyone recognize where that is? Because that's actually inside one of the Star Wars scenes.
Wow.
Yeah, so just completely unrelated to today's call, about 3 weeks ago, just sort of midway through the lockdown, Disney made available about 30 Zoom back screens from the Star Wars set. Yeah, you can visit halfway around the Star Wars world. There we go. Oh no, that's inside a ship. How about that one? That's I think from an X-wing. There's me. There you go. I think that's a bit more.
Yeah,
more obvious. Yeah, there you go. Or you recognise that one. But we'll end up back where I live, which is there. So, welcome everybody. It's a real pleasure to be here. As Marcello says, I live in a mentioned just now, I live in a very rural part of the UK. I don't know if there's anybody here from the UK, but I live in a region called Cornwall, and that is 6 hours southwest of London. And in theory, I can stand at my house and wave to Boston in the USA, because there is nothing between Boston and my the village where I live, and my house is about 100 meters from the Atlantic Ocean. Obviously, I don't know. I can see everybody who's online, but I don't know where you're all from. So I will try and make things as unambiguous as possible, and try and help you understand my background in a way that will help you in the future. So in very simple terms, I left school some years ago at 14. School wasn't for me. I felt that school didn't like me, I didn't like school, and I wasn't going anywhere. And so at 14, I said goodbye. And in those days, technically you were allowed to leave school at 15. So I left a bit earlier than I should have done, but there was no one around to stop me. I went to work with my father for a little bit, and then and this is the first bit of serendipity in my life. I had been always interested in becoming a sound engineer, music sound engineer, and my father, through a contact, had arranged for me to go for an interview, and in London, and we lived in Brighton, which is an hour south of London. And I was walking to the train station, and even then, as well as sound, I had an interest in very early technology and electronics. And I was walking to the station and walked past the military, the Royal Navy Careers Information Centre. And this is, where you would go to find out about joining the military. And I thought, well, that's quite interesting. Let me go and get some brochures to read on the train whilst I'm going up to London. So I walked in there to pick up some brochures and walked out again 18 years later. I signed up there and then to join the military, to the Royal Navy, originally as an electronics engineer. However, I didn't stay in electronics. I did all the training, but I didn't stay at one for very long, as I became aircrew, and I was flying in helicopters, primarily doing anti-submarine warfare, hunting or looking for submarines, but also as a search and rescue diver. If you saw me now, my body is not designed for diving anymore. But yep, I did many years as a search and rescue diver, or as my wife and friends often say, dope on a rope. So that was interesting. And from my point of view, not only was it my first bit of serendipity, I was walking past the place, and then signed the line. I say, whilst I can't tell you all to go out and join the military, that would be wrong of me. What I would say is, being part of an organization like the military, you learn so many things about life and how to manage things, how to manage risk. You become permanently aware of your surroundings and how to manage risk as you move through, through the day and through life. The other thing you learn is three very important things. There are three things in this world we should never get into a discussion over. One is religion, the second is politics, and the third is football. All three will lead to an argument somewhere along the line. And so I try and avoid all three in my life. I had a fantastic career, learned a lot, met my wife, and created 4 fantastic children in that period. When I left in 1991, I'd already started my first business, and we became authorized Apple dealers. But prior to that, we started one of the first mail order businesses for Apple, or for computer equipment actually, but specifically Apple Computer in the UK. And as I say, this was in 1991, and we actually started the business in 1989. I'd been using an Apple since the late 80s, not quite 84, but not far off. And still to this day, I can't show it to you at the moment, but I've got my original Apple Macintosh in my office here. And in fact, I own an Apple, a fully working Apple Lisa, which was the precursor to the Apple Macintosh. And I've even still got all the original manuals and software for it. However, and this is the second big lesson of life that I made, we had a very successful business, but we got things wrong, or I got things wrong. And we closed down at the end of 1991. I played what I call business origami. We folded the business. Why did I fold the business? Well, 2 reasons. One, we'd run out of money. We were over trading. We were so successful, but our profit margins were so low that we struggled to have spare cash. And when we closed the business, we had nearly £250,000 worth of orders in our books, but we couldn't buy stock to supply them. It was also, I'm not sure how many people here would remember this, but 1991 was also one of the big recessions in the world, and borrowing money was impossible. So that was partly the lesson. The second half of the lesson was that a friend of mine came up to me and said, how are you? And I said, fine. He said, you're not. I said, what do you mean? He says, you are taking your stress out and your failure out on your family. And you really should do something about it. So after 5 minutes of thought, I went home, made a phone call and closed the business down. On one hand, that was the best thing I could have done because it drew a line under the problem. On another level, I can honestly say probably the biggest lesson I've had in life and has driven many decisions that I've made since 1991 was the initial fear and then the subsequent process of having a business that goes into bankruptcy or into liquidation, more to the point. When you sit in front of those creditors, the people you owe money to, and they're pointing the finger at you and saying, you lost our money, why? It makes you focus. And you realize that if you have any moral standing in this world, you realize that once you've done it once, you genuinely don't want to do it a second time. And that has driven many decisions since then. But the big one, and I mentioned time and time again, especially to young businessmen and women, is that failure is also success. Once you've failed, you can turn that around and treat that as a lesson and move forward. And if you take anything away from me today, it's that always try and look forward, don't try and look back. But at the end of all of that, we were in a really difficult position. I had no job, no money, no money coming into the house. I had a wife, 4 young children. I think all my children by that stage were under 6, and we were literally taking money from the kids' money boxes to buy food to put it on the table. Fortunately, I had a fantastic family. We had a fantastic family that helped us, and some friends, and we came out the other side. I got a job selling photocopiers on a commission-only basis, and that certainly focuses your mind, where if you don't sell something, you don't get any money, and if you don't get any money, you can't put food on the table. But with some will and finding a way, I ended up working for a company who looked after me, had some fantastic morals in the way they worked and looked after their staff, and we turned things around. And eventually, the company I worked for, I became a director of, and life moves on. We started earning money again. Everything was good. I then, with one of the directors of that company, we went off and set up in 1993, 94, one of the first internet service providers in the UK. And this is where my technical skills and technical knowledge started coming out in a big way. And we set up one of the first ways that people could get on this weird technology called the information superhighway, the internet as we are now. And believe it or not, Zoom existed in 1993, 94, albeit very different in the way it functioned, but the way it looked was bizarrely not that different. And that was a product called ICQ, the letters I, the letter C, and the letter Q. And I'm sure Marcello knows a bit of the story of this, because the guy whose family founded that company is a very famous entrepreneur and businessman around the world, an Israeli guy called Yossi Vardi.
I know Yossi. I wouldn't call him a friend, but I know him well.
Yeah, so you know, Yoss's, two of Yoss's sons, with the support from Yossi, founded ICQ, and there's a whole history behind that when AOL bought them. But that's a separate discussion, separate chat. Anyway, you know, moving forward in my life, anyway, you know, I was then headhunted in 1997 by British Telecom, and then had a fantastic career of close on 18 years with British Telecom, and I left there in 5 years ago, sorry, as global head of technology and innovation support. So, you know, I've gone from a 14-year-old leaving school to, you know, a 45-something or a 50-year-old, and through that period of life, I've done many things and have got many life experiences. So, you know, fundamentally for me, I always believe that every day is a learning day. Look, just now, you know, I've been using Zoom since they started, and I've never used Zoom on my mobile phone from the forward-facing camera. You know, I had no idea. So you work a way of doing it. Every day is a learning day. Now I know I can tell other people how you do it when they ask. So, you know, when I left BT, you know, I was scratching my head a bit. I was asked to go to Switzerland for a year to work for a digital security company as their interim or temporary chief information and innovation officer. And so I spent a year living in Geneva, and that gave me time to think and focus on what I wanted to do for the future. So I then started two businesses simultaneously. One Marcello mentioned earlier on, or sorry, in the briefing, and that is that I started one of the UK's first drone or UAV companies. We're still going, albeit in a very different way. I only fly very large 20, 25 kilo plus drones for special projects. And unfortunately, without getting the camera, moving cameras around and joining my phone, I can't show you some of my drones in here. And then at the same time, as I say, I started up a networking services business. Some people call it managed service provider. Other people call it a managed network service provider. And we provide networks and infrastructure for anyone and everyone, for people that know the advert. I'm not sure if anybody here would be, but the martini, we call it a bit of a martini business. Anytime, any place, anywhere. We'll provide you with a network and an infrastructure. And that's one of the things I do every year in Davos now, and that is that provide networks and infrastructure for various companies that need that sort of service in Davos. During that time, I was also, over the last few years, been asked, and I spent 4 months in Barcelona as an entrepreneur in residence for 10 startups. The interesting thing for me is that of the 20 odd entrepreneurs or business people that were there, all bar one of them was between the age of my 4 children, which was an interesting experience because a lot of the time I was also acting as their sort of local parent, helping them through challenging personal times and mental times and stress times. And they saw me not only helping them from a business point of view, but also, you know, as someone to give them a shoulder to cry on or to bounce ideas off of. And many a time, you know, we had conversations was, you know, what were they, you know, they came to me saying, what am I doing here? Am I doing the right thing? You know, and it's all about encouraging them and being honest. You know, with one of the startups, I said, I really don't believe that you have, you know, a product that will fly. You might get it off the ground, but it just doesn't work. And then we sat down with them and we pivoted them and turned them into a very successful startup by just changing some of their ideas. So you know, as we say, I've been around a bit, and have done a few things. Marcello mentioned about the World Economic Forum and technology pioneers. 2021 will be my 19th year of attending Davos, and for 12 years of that, the first 12 years, I was one of the judges for the World Economic Forum's most amazing Technology Pioneers program. And, you know, I would implore anybody who has a business, a technology business, that thinks or believes that it has the ability to change the world, I would recommend applying or nominating yourself for Technology Pioneers, because it opens the most amazing set of doors if you get selected. Approximately 20 to 25 companies get selected every year, and they range from biotech to power and light and energy to high tech, social sciences. There's a whole group, and if you don't know anything about it, it's certainly worth going to the World Economic Forum's website and looking up the Technology Pioneers program, and you'll see historically some of the most amazing winners, of which many names we know, like for instance, Twitter, Facebook, Google. Even Google were a Technology Pioneer winner in their early days, and many others. So it's well worth looking at it. So what are my thoughts of life, hopefully for some of you guys to take away? Well, the first one, failure hurts. It really, really, really does hurt. But learn from it. If you fail, try and sit back and work out, why did you fail? Doesn't matter what you failed at. It could have been, you know, building a shed that failed and fell down. Why? What could you do better? But the same thing about a business. You know, if your business is struggling or your startup is struggling, then think about it. You know, if you don't want to think about it, or you're struggling and you need some help, there are plenty of people out there. Marcello, a classic example of someone that would help you. Me, you can find me on just about every form of social media. Message me. You know, if I can help, I will. You know, if you want me to help you more, then there's always discussions to be had, because at the end of the day, I have mortgages to pay as well. But, you know, I'm always there to help people in the early days. One of my favorite of two of my favorite statements to follow. Now, one, many people come to me and say, I have an idea. What do you think? And the big thing is that a lot of the time, they don't research their idea in a way that says, instead of saying, this is what I want to do, look about, is it out there? Is there anyone else doing something similar? Because probably 6 or 7 out of 10 people that come to me with an idea that they think is groundbreaking, no one else has ever done it before. There is someone out there in the world that has either done it and been successful, or done it and failed. So my wonderful saying that I love is, if you see a bandwagon, it's too late. If you see an idea out there and you think, wow, that's a fantastic idea, usually someone else has done it already. All right, so think about it. The second one is a little bit more philosophical. Innovate or die. Innovation is not mandatory. If you have a business that at the beginning of this coronavirus epidemic that was totally dependent on people walking through your door, you had 2 choices. You either found a way of trading, innovating, changing your model, or possibly dying. The companies that will come out of this 12, 15, 18-week lockdown, the companies that will come out of this stronger than the ones they went in, are the ones that looked at their business model, asked people to help them who had experience in areas that they don't necessarily have the experience, technology being a classic one. Then if you did innovate, you will find a way of coming out of this. If you didn't innovate, the chances are you might not come out. So innovate or die. Innovation is not mandatory. The other thought of life from me is, and I'm not sure how this will translate into all languages, but the principle is right. If it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it usually is a duck. If you see an idea or an offer that is going to make you learn lots of money, turn you into the next unicorn, and you'll walk away as a 22-year-old billionaire, usually it's an offer that there is a problem with. Yeah. So if it looks too good, or the price is too fantastic that you feel that you can't turn it down, check. The probability is that there's a scam there somewhere. Just always think about it. And this goes back to something I said earlier on about risk. Understand your risk. Yeah. Just to sort of start wrapping up because of time, and I know some people might want to ask some questions. Your passion must not hide realism. So if you start a company, be very realistic about what your goals are going to be. I speak to many startups, many young business people who say to me, I'm going to create this company and I'm going to sell it for $15 million. Wrong attitude. You start a company and then you see where it's going, and then if it's a startup, you sell it for, if you want to sell it, that's great. Sell it for what is a sensible expectation. Very few of you out there, very few people in this world will start a company and in a few years turn it into a unicorn. I noticed someone there has a unicorn logo. Just remember, don't forget the realism in this world and let the passion drive it too far. The other thing that a lot of people criticize me for, I say it every time, when you start an organization or a startup, everyone refers to themselves as an entrepreneur. They're not an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a French word that came into this tech world 10, 15 years ago. You're business people. You are a businesswoman, a businessman. You are starting a business. And the two most important things about your business are your staff and your customers. And a third one that many, many people forget in this equation is your suppliers. If you're a business person and then you have a business that you're trying to get off the ground, the three equations, the three things that make your business successful in this order are your staff, and your staff. Yeah. Then your customers and your suppliers. And without that ecosystem, you will fail. And again, look at the last 12 to 15 weeks. How many companies, and again, I don't know your individual countries and how the governments of your countries are all working with this coronavirus, but if you have a business or had a business, running a business at the beginning of this, and you have staff, if you look after your staff now, even if it means you going without, look after your staff, because at the end of all this, the people that are going to help you come out the other side are your staff. And build that relationship with your customers. Talk to your customers. Explain your situation. Transparency with customers and transparency with suppliers is far, far better than hiding your problems. If you're a business person and you're struggling to pay a supplier, and then especially if it's a supplier that you've built up a relationship, go and talk to them. They will help you, I promise you. If you hide your problems or you try and do something that is not very nice to them, then you will regret it longer term. So anyway, that's my thoughts. I've got plenty more. I could talk for hours, this sort of thing. But I'm not sure how we're doing for time because I stopped my clock by accident, even though I'm a technologist. Is there anyone that's got any questions?
Hey, Gary, just like to make the suggestion that you come back for another session in December dressed like Santa Claus. Are you up for it?
Yeah, I'll have to.
You have to let it go.
I'll have to let. The real funny thing is that I do normally. This is actually long for me. This is my coronavirus beard.
Right.
Normally in the summer it's much shorter, but I do tend to let it grow for. Well, I don't have to let it grow, you know, because of my other role in life. You know, around about November time, it does start growing automatically. And, you know, although I have a large belly already, it does get bigger automatically. And then suddenly, you know, miraculously, I disappear off the grid, you know, at the end of November, because, you know, my staff are very busy getting ready, building things for my customers that I have to deliver overnight on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Fantastic. So yeah, thanks so much. We're already quite late for the break. So what I would suggest is that Mark Buckley, who's going to be speaking after the break, is here as well. I'll give it back to San Yen. And then my suggestion is that if you can stay a bit longer, you join them during the break. And Mark, if you'd like to join them as well, we did that yesterday with a few speakers and it was a lot of fun. So San Yen, I'll pass it on to you. And if both Gary and Mark are willing to join the activities, you're absolutely most welcome. And thanks again for coming.
Mark, that looks like a real background as opposed to a virtual one.
Yes, it is.
Hang on a minute. I'll everyone off. The one thing about Zoom over the last few weeks is that everyone's fascinated by everyone's real backgrounds. What's in their house. And I'll turn mine off. Then you can see. There you go. That's what it really looks like. Chaos.
Marcelo, do you mind putting us in the breakout rooms, please?
Sonia, yeah. Sonia, please go ahead. You're
Can
the
you
boss.
put us in the breakout rooms?
I cannot hear you.
Can you organize this into